All right, good morning, students. I thought I'd try something a little different today. In fact, I already did one experiment and locked myself in the barn, but I got myself out. I didn't have to get anybody, but I wanted to bring you outside virtually just because one, I'm tired of being cooped up, and two, I want us to focus on things that are beautiful this week. So I was going to show you this really cute baby calf that I thought was beautiful in light of our post the other day about something that you've seen as beautiful. But um, needless to say, there's no internet in the barn with the calf. So you'll just have to use your imagination as to how cute he is. He's real velvety and has almost some big doe eyes like a Jersey cow, but not quite. But he's close enough for a little. I don't know if he's an Angus or a Holstein, to be quite honest. But um, yeah, so this is in the background. If you can see that, that is my neighbor's barn, and um, yeah, just some beautiful weather that we've got out here. So first, I want to show you guys. I'm gonna sit down. A picture that I have found absolutely beautiful. Um, just since I read a story and then I looked up some artwork to see what kind of artwork was out there with this particular story. And it's the story of the Aeneid. And so I want to do this right so that there's no glare on my screen. So this is a scene from the Aeneid. The Aeneid is the Trojan version of what happens after the Greeks destroy Troy. And actually, it backs up a little bit to the destruction of Troy. And it was a story that I had to read for my master's program. But as I was reading, I was like, dude, they should have made this into a movie. It's so good. Um, Epic battles and, the mythology, all kinds of cool stuff. But right smack in the middle of it is this absolutely gorgeous moment in which my neighbor's talk, sorry, in which Aeneas, our main character, our hero, is trying to convince his old father to leave the city. And his father, he's like the guardian of, their wisdom and the gods that they have. And he's old and decrepit. And his father, Aeneas's father, is saying, look, you should just leave me behind and go on yourself. I'm too old. I'll just let people down. It's my time to die. And Aeneas also has his wife and his son there. And there's this beautiful moment after they're having this conversation that is probably way longer than a conversation would be in that type of a crisis, but you know how good old poetry is. Um, Aeneas is able to convince his dad to go with them, and he picks up his father and throws him over his shoulder, grabs his son by the hand, and they flee the city together. And so that's one of my favorite moments in this story because it really just shows an importance and love for the family. And for something that is very ordinary, very everyday, that's not really the stuff of gods and goddesses and mythology and things like that, but it's actually what is key, what's critical. Throughout the whole story, you could trace the importance of the family for establishing Aeneas's line and just the wisdom that he seeks out, his hope for the future. It's all wrapped up really in this moment. And so I want us to remember that, especially as we're maybe spending more time with our families. I know that, this has come up even before all the virus stuff, but the family being under attack, you've heard that probably in churches at home and other classes at school. So I just want us to be able to think of ways that we can maybe have a heightened appreciation for that, for the people that God has once again placed us with. Um, Ties a little bit into dialectic too, because as we try to figure out how to have a discussion online through discussion posts, I have posted the etiquette information. I'll go ahead and post the stuff that I put for Harkness tables. That way you can kind of have some ideas of ways to respond. This week you're focusing on something a little bit more personal, and I'm doing this for a reason this week, just so that we can prepare our hearts for leisure, so that we can have a little bit more of a connection than not at all, and maybe to help us to be able to think deeply, because we are, our town is a story that is focusing on those really small, everyday things that make up an entire life, and that we often don't realize we miss until it's gone and in some way taken away from us. So, with dialectic, one of the ways that um, people would learn way back in the days of Plato and Socrates and Aristotle. And I'll show you another picture later. It's my favorite. It's the School of Athens. But you've probably heard of the Lyceum, the walking school. And they would learn through discussion, through asking questions. And I've been in my philosophy class having to read some of Plato's dialogues, where Socrates has got a bunch of young men standing around him, and they are asking him questions. Sometimes they're sincere, sometimes they're trying to trip him up and show him how smart they are, and oftentimes he will ask them leading questions. And there's this constant back and forth. Um, and he uses that to try to bring them to truth, and really to try to also for himself pursue and understand truth himself. That's what the philosopher is supposed to do, is to pursue truth. And at the core of a liberal arts education, or a classical education, especially a classical Christian education, your ultimate pursuit is what is truth, what's um, what does the Lord have to say about this, and what can we glean, what can we learn from it, what can we discover, because the Lord has given us minds, and he's given us ways to tap into finding out what his truth is. And so as we move into discussion posts, as we continue out our year, I really want us to focus on listening. And you know that I've given you guys a listening grade when you've had your scored discussions, when you've had your Harkness table. I've tried to have you do things that require you to listen and show evidence that you're listening, at least in some capacity. When we had our mock trial, we had some ones where we stopped and we were like, okay, it's not just about winning the argument. It is about making sure that we listen and that we are pursuing really this give and take back and forth together.